and thank you for joining me today with In Focus. I'm Dani Walsh, the Bloomfield Township Supervisor, and today I have two amazing guests with me, and these are two of our own firefighters who do so much more than just here in Bloomfield Township. They help people across the United States. So I have today with me Lieutenant Chopski and Lieutenant Patterson, and they're from not just Bloomfield Township Fire Department, but also from Michigan Task Force 1. So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. We have Lieutenant Chopski and Lieutenant Patterson, and the titles are correct, right?
Yep,
I don't know.
That is correct.
You guys are always just escalating, and you're so amazing that I got to keep up with all the promotions.
Yeah, right.
But who wants to start first? Tell me about yourself.
So I'm obviously Joe Chopski. I grew up here in Rochester Hills. I started here in 1998, so 27 years now. Pretty much when I started Rochester Hills Fire Department before here, and it was one of those things where I knew that's what I wanted to do as a career. Got invested in a little bit of the tech rescue there before I came here. And I was looking for that full-time department, and Bloomfield had an opportunity for me. And so I joined the hazmat team once I got hired here, and it was craving to be a part of a rescue team, and we didn't have it then. And so slowly we started building it here, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am today. But yeah, so 27 years and looking at retirement around the corner.
Nope. I don't let favorites leave. It's not allowed.
And my name is Shaun Patterson, lieutenant here. My story is very similar to Joe's. I also grew up in Rochester Hills, was on Rochester Hills Fire Department with Joe for a short period. Mm-hmm. He came over here to the township. I started here at the township in 2005, so a little bit delayed from when Joe started. Same thing though, Rochester Hills, I did a lot of tech rescue stuff, hazmat. So I brought that knowledge over here to Bloomfield and started on the Oakway hazmat team and also on the Oakway technical rescue team. And then in 2016, I joined Michigan Task Force 1 as a hazmat specialist at first. And now I'm a logistics manager there.
Wow. So you guys have known each other a very long time.
We have. I remember the first day you walked into the building, I'm like, oh my gosh, Shaun.
Oh, I thought maybe you brought him here.
I had no idea. No.
You just missed him so much.
Yeah, I did. I had to follow him.
Exactly.
Yep.
So tell us about Michigan Task Force 1. I as a resident, did not know this was something that was our own going down there. Because we don't have a lot of disasters here. We've had some. You've responded up north to the mill fire.
Yep. Menominee.
In Menominee.
Northern Michigan.
Yep.
Luckily,
Also,
we don't have a lot here. We have winter. That's not so fun.
Yeah.
But we don't get a lot of disasters here. You're considerably in the south usually, right? West for maybe some fires.
Yeah. So first of all,
What is
after
Michigan
Katrina,
Task Force?
how about this?
Yeah.
After Katrina, which was 2008, the response from FEMA and all that stuff didn't seem like it went over very well across the I guess the nation.
Right.
So the federal government came out and said, how are each state ready to respond to this type of disaster in their own state? And so they gave out money to each state. It was like $8 million, I think, to the state of Michigan. So there was a board put together to figure out how we were going to spend this money in preparedness for a Katrina-style event. And so they decided that they were going to build the equipment, build the home for all the equipment, and then get the personnel from all the different agencies to come together to respond in that equipment as a team. So the other model was take all the money, put it in all the departments, and then we go on a deployment. Everyone has to bring that equipment back, and then there was no money left for training and everything else. It was just all over the place. It was very hard to figure out where it was. So our team was built very much similar to a FEMA style team, where we have we go on a deployment as a Type 3 structural collapse team, which is 45 guys, and that includes everything from doctors, structural engineers, canine handlers, heavy equipment operators, things that are well outside of the fire response system. So we bring outside people in to supplement this team. The goal of the team, or the standard, is that we can be self-sufficient 72 hours with no outside agency, no help from the outside. So they can put us in the middle of nowhere and we're going to function on our own. So we had to bring all that with us, and we go out as 45. Now they added the swift water component. So now within that 45, we have, I think, 14 that are swift water certified. So now we have boats that can go to floods, and we're one of the only swift water rated teams in the state of Michigan. There are other teams, I think, like Shelby Township.
Yeah.
They have some swift, even Rochester Hills, I think, has some swift water guys, but what they don't have is the boat operator. So how to drive a boat in the swift water. And so we're the only team that actually has that. So it makes us, that part of our team unique in the state. We have 148 members on the team from, I think it's 50 different departments. Mm-hmm. Most of them are from the Southeast Michigan, mainly because that's where the people, the mass of the people in the state are. We do have people that are in Gaylord, some from Traverse City, Grand Rapids, a bunch, Midland, a couple, Saline. We have one from Saline, Dearborn. Like, they're from everywhere. So, but yeah, we go and we can be out the door from the call. We're supposed to be out the door in 4 hours. We have 8. If we go out as a Type 3 structural collapse team, we have. Well, I'll let you speak to it. But
how many are from? How many do you have total there, and how many are from the township? And
so we have 3 members from the township currently on the team. We've had more over the years, but some have retired. Some have.
Who's the third member?
Third member
Jeff
is Nancaro.
Okay.
Yep.
Who his dad retired.
Yes.
Well, let's back up, because actually Jeff Nancaro is a member. His dad was on it before he retired.
Oh, wow.
He's still technically on the team.
He is on the team. Yep.
Yep. And then Gary Fox, who also retires on the team.
Yep.
Mike Rogers
was one of the heavy
mechanic
here that retired here.
Right.
He maintains our vehicles, so he's on the.
And he's been on a couple of deployments too.
Yep.
But yeah, we have what's our fleet like when we go?
So we got 9 trucks,
4 box trucks,
16 or 17 vehicles going down the road with pulling trailers, and we bring our own fuel. We have a fuel trailer full of 950 gallons of diesel. So that's the other thing is part of my job is logistics. I have to make sure that when we're going down there, we have fuel stops, and because these are large vehicles, so they take a lot of fuel. So we have to hit different gas stations that can take 17 vehicles pulling into their gas station at a time,
and then feed everybody and
and
food.
Things that you need to plan for in advance and know that you're ready, because any of that falls short.
Correct.
So as a logistics manager, right? So that was my position, and then now Shaun's kind of got it now. But you're making sure the equipment's in ready form. You're making sure the vehicles are in ready form, and then your responsibility on deployment is to make sure that those 45 guys get from A to B so that they can work, and all the stops in between, all the food, all the lodging, all that in between A and B is his responsibility.
So do you, when you see something's brewing and they tell you there's like with Milton, although you didn't go out, you were prepared.
Yep.
As a logistics coordinator, do you call around in advance, or are these some places that you already have on a list?
Yeah, like with Milton just recently, I got a phone call from our program manager saying, "Are we ready yet?" I said, "No, we just got back from North Carolina."
Right.
He said, "Can you go up to the warehouse and get everything ready?" So I made some phone calls, got some members together, and got everything ready in case we got dispatched to the Milton hurricane. Which we didn't, but we were ready if we did have to go.
Are there hotels that let people know that they're open to this, or how do you even find hotels for 45 people in an area that's under a hurricane?
You don't.
So you don't. Not in the disaster area. So we will stay usually at a hotel halfway there. So
en route
to the area, but we bring our own tents. So we have to be self-sufficient, like Joe said. So we have our own tents. We have HVAC units, generators
heaters,
for that.
sleeping bags, cots.
But majority of the time, the state that's bringing us in will find either an abandoned building, and
Like a
we'll
stadium,
a stadium, somewhere where there's a hard structure for us to stay in. We've plumbed our HVAC systems into those buildings because it literally doesn't have any power. But at least we have a hard building to stay under. But we do have the tents in case we do need to get, under shelter on our own.
Now, how do you get involved? I mean, this must be something that, as firefighters, I do say you are different than everyone else. When we hear sirens, we run the opposite way. Right. You hear it, you run into these buildings and to the disasters. How do you pick? I'm sure there's so many on the team that want to be a part of this. Do you have to apply? Do you have to get vetted? What happens?
So our department has to sponsor us for the team. We're usually the members come from either the Oakway, the Oakland County hazmat team, or the technical rescue team. So that's like the next step is to be on the task force from the local county team that we're on. So literally it's asking the chief, will you sponsor me to be on Michigan Task Force? Okay. And then there's an application process that you send to the task force showing all your qualifications and your interest. And then once a year they bring on new members.
Wow.
And the big thing though too is just on top of that, it's the family, right?
Right.
So you got 4 hours notice. You might know there's a hurricane coming, but the Menominee one, it was like, now we're going, right? And you can be there for up to 2 weeks. And so within a moment's notice, Midland flood, same thing, Gaylord tornado. I mean, those were all like, right now we're going, and you could be gone for 2 weeks. So now it's one, the ability to want to do that. 2, your family. 3, the township supervisor, the fire chief, that all allows all that to happen. And without any of those things, nothing happens, right? And so we are very appreciative to all the people that allow us to do what we get to do. And it's a privilege for us to do that. So,
and it is worth saying, the families of, what I have always noticed, families of first responders or even families of teachers, there's just something special about the families that you have where they understand that you're there to help so much more than just this area. But it is hard, especially with young children, or
it's very hard. A lot of pressure on them.
It's hard, missing a lot of important moments in your children's lives.
Some days it's so busy that you can't even make the phone call, back. By the time you get back, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're already asleep. So you got to catch them on the next day. They have a little bit of downtime.
Is there a support group for the families where they send information? I know the fire chief sends me information to make sure you're okay, because that's a constant question.
Letter with a couple photos,
and I was like, "Are we still okay?" But I can't imagine, with the fear that I have when you're gone. I can't even imagine what your families are going through. Is there somebody from the region that gets information out to them?
There is.
Yeah. So Shad, right now it's. You talking about the letters?
Yeah.
We
get emails get sent out to the family members.
Okay.
There's one that gets sent to the chiefs, and then which has more information.
It's more obviously. The tactical information.
But then there's a family letter, right?
Okay,
that's more like, hey, everyone's in good spirits. We're doing good work, and some photos and maybe some nice little stories or whatever. And if you've read them, Shad, and you probably know him now because he likes to write some really nice letters. So
I haven't seen the family ones. I see.
I think it's the same
chief
letter.
Ones. Okay. Yeah.
He's very similar, if not.
He does try and add more than just they're here, they're doing this.
Yeah.
He does add a spin to it to know, because he knows we're all worried about you.
I actually make fun of him at times because they're so long. Like, we don't have time to read them in the field.
Oh no!
So I'm like, man, I don't have time to read this thing. So I told him I'd take his long email and I throw it in ChatGPT and I summarize it to a paragraph.
Oh my goodness! But you can read them later.
Yeah, we do.
I
do. And then I'm like, oh, these are actually
one?
really good. I like them. And our families really do appreciate it,
right.
for all that. So, but I know he puts a lot of words in.
He does, but it's helpful.
It's good. It's a really good thing. I wish I could write like that, to be honest with you. But.
Now, how many years have you each been on it?
So,
since the start,
yes. Okay. So from the start, I started with the task force, so 2008, 9-ish. And I signed up to be a rescue specialist. So as a I didn't get on the team as a rescue specialist. I got on as a logistics specialist.
Okay.
And I'm like, who wants to do that? You know?
He doesn't mean that in a bad way.
No.
You have a logistics specialist.
Well, that's what I did. I did,
know,
right?
just-
And I'm like, and they said, you're going to like it. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know. It doesn't do any rescue work. It's not the glory position. You know, I want to do the work. And they're like, you're going to like it. And I absolutely fell in love with it. It's the best position on the team, in my opinion.
Right.
And I went from logistics specialist to a logistics manager. And then I got to coordinate a move of all that equipment from a building in Waterford down to Wixom, up to Groveland, and then into our new building that we're in. And I've moved that equipment so much that I know where everything is and what box it's in and what's in it and how many. And then I just got promoted 2 years ago or so to task force leader.
Yes.
So now he's took that, you know, my role, and it's really hard to step away, you know.
Right.
And, like,
so does he get involved too much?
Oh, he does. He does.
it's hard.
He does, but I allow him to. You know, I know he still enjoys the logistics side, so
I do
let
my
him.
best.
I let him.
Have you ever said though, when I did this, that's when you know, okay, step
I'm like,
away.
You just don't understand yet, Shaun. You know? But he does an amazing job, and so we're not complaining, and because of that, I'm able to step back. But in my role, I'm still learning. So that comfort level with me in my role is still like, you know, I'm still learning from the guys that are in there.
Right.
So my comfort zone is still always to kind of go back to logistics. You know, I still oversee it as a responsibility, but he's got it under control for the most part. So
I can tell you that whenever there's news coverage of the areas, I look for you guys to make, because you have to know that you're okay. And I have seen, now that especially he's a leader, he gets interviewed. But it is something that I imagine also the families are looking to make sure, like, okay, he's there, he's okay.
Oh,
he's okay.
Yeah.
So what about having somebody who's been in the spot? Have you been able to make this your own though, or do you have somebody that still tells you?
So he tries to tell me but I've made a couple tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
So it's changing so much.
It is.
How we deploy, what our team looks like, what the needs are out there is always changing. And so the minute you're out, like it's already evolving, and if you're not there, right? So there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And
we got some extra funding last couple of years to do some capital improvements. That the state gave us a little extra money. So new vehicles, little different concept of how we operate. We're getting more into the swiftwater side. So buying new boats and stuff like that are more to what FEMA uses, to be more on par with them.
Well, with the swiftwater, that's so important too, because although hurricanes living through some are very, very scary, it does seem like the flooding, we are getting more of the 100-year, 500-year storms, and the flooding with the swiftwater, although it may not be as over-encompassing as a hurricane, it is dangerous. And it is. I think some people don't take it seriously enough, and then they think it's not that deep, and they are off.
Yes.
So thank goodness
it's the flash flooding.
Yes.
Is what, you know, and it can happen here in Michigan. You know, a normal river or dam failure, it can cause flash flooding, can cause swift water.
Right.
And not a lot of teams around here are not trained. They're trained for floodwaters, but not for that swift water, which is a different.
And there's scenarios where so swift water is anything moving more than 1 knot, which is not very much.
Yeah.
So what might look like a flood in static water is one thing, but as soon as you go around a corner, of a building or something, now that water's moving, right? Or let's just say down by Yates Cider Mill. You know, that water comes up and floods there a lot, right? And it goes underneath that bridge. And if that bridge gets blocked, now all of a sudden the water's going over the top of that bridge. And now you have things, they call them strainers. So if you get up there and you get swept off your feet, right? And you go up against the guardrail or something like that, and the water is pushing you against that guardrail. Now that's a very dangerous situation, right? Or culverts or something like that. Those are all swift water type rescues, I would say. So it's not like we couldn't have an experience like that here in Michigan. We very well could. So it's, we get to do these things, get to train on these things. You know, I don't, but the guys do. He does. He's a swiftwater technician also. But you get to have those opportunities in training. You know, in other states, we might go down to like North Carolina or something to train in a river down there, and they come back, right? They get to bring it back to us. We don't have that swiftwater necessarily to train in, but the lessons are shared, right? You know, as best we can. So, yeah.
So what's the tip? So I will say, and I've mentioned to you, I'm not going to make you relive your worst days.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that anybody should ever make you do. But let's say a hypothetical, we get a call. So I won't even make you relive the most recent North Carolina. Yeah. Let's say hypothetically we get a call and you're about to take off. What's the first thing you do that day? What's the first thing you do? You get the call. There's 4 hours. What do you do?
I was actually at home when we got the call, and I live in Canton now. Okay. So it's a little far from Groveland, Holly area. So Gary Fox, who's also a logistics manager for the team, I gave him a call because I kind of knew what was already out from projects that we were doing at the time. And so I gave Gary a call just to make sure he could get over to what we call the MOB Center, our warehouse, to make sure that he could get some stuff done prior to me getting there. We also got some new fuel cards that we're transitioning over to, and Shad, he had those, and he wasn't going on the deployment, but he lived in Livonia, which is very close to Canton. So I had to go over to his house, pick up those cards. So it was a little bit of a delay before me getting there. But once I got there, then my responsibility is getting all the vehicles that are going out, the trailers hooked up, and to get the crews getting all the equipment ready to go out the door.
How many people do you have helping you with that?
So it's the people deploying.
Okay, so everybody.
So 19.
So it was 19 for them.
Yeah, but they're slowly coming in because they live all over. Some people were from Grand Rapids that were on the deployment. So there's delays. So when one person gets in, we hand them a sheet. This needs to get done, and they're doing checks. So that's kind of my role, is to kind of manage, making sure those individuals are and all the checks are getting done.
And we knew a couple days prior, right? Because we were expecting a call. We had a direct ask from North Carolina for us to go.
Okay.
And it got held up in some processing through the ESF 9 position at the Michigan State Police, who authorizes us to go for the state. So it got held there a little bit, which delayed a day or two. So we kind of had a little bit of a notice, but we're kind of like, are we going or are we not going, right? So, but once we get that call, the first thing we do is we got to roster. We got to make sure we actually have the people in the positions we need them in. Mm-hmm. So you get the 40 or the 19 guys, we're like, we're good, let's go, spool it up. And this time we were actually on the road within 2 hours from when we said go. So that was good that we got a chance to do a little bit of prep work ahead of time. But getting down there, pretty simple getting down there. We spent the one night on the road, so we didn't roll in at 2:00 in the morning. But once we got there, we were put right to work. We did 5 rescues the first day we were there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Swiftwater rescues, and then we moved a couple towns, and then we got into our Chimney Rock, which was probably one of the worst towns that got hit down there in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we stayed at the Green Hill Fire Department inside their fire station. So we set up all our cots and sleeping bags. That's where we stayed. And then we went to work, which was a 10-15 minute drive into Chimney Rock. Totally destroyed town, worst I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. We rescued, 5 or 6 people that first day there, just from being isolated by the river and no roads and no bridges. Because Chimney Rock is a valley that comes down one road in through the town. All the water just kind of comes right through this town. It just, what river used to be maybe 20 foot wide,
30 foot,
20 foot wide, ends up being now 150 feet wide.
Oh my goodness.
So, and all the homes and the businesses that were along that downtown, just many of them just got wiped away, gone. I will say that the fire department there, the local fire department, because it was 2 days after the flooding that we were able to make access into that town just because of the tree debris over the roads, the down power lines, the one road in, one road out. That the local fire department there did most of the emergent rescues, recoveries, I should say, if there were any, I don't know. So we were there really to search the buildings that had collapsed and been destroyed and get the people from across the river, and then also wide area search the whole town up in the mountains to every single home in their city to make sure that welfare checks, that they had the food, the water, the medicine, they didn't need to be extracted out. And we did a couple of those rescues where we actually were able to call in helicopters and extract people out via helicopters. And again, I can only say that in 27 years of doing technical rescue, there's the 5 disciplines. There's trench rescue, building collapse, rope rescue, confined space, swift water rescue, that we did it all in one deployment. And it's so to put everything that I've done over 27 years or whatever, how long I've been doing technical rescue, to be able to do it all in one event. I think we're all very proud of the work we did. Yes. Everywhere we go, people are very happy and excited and thankful for us being there. I think we have a pretty good impact on the communities that we go to. And it was really the worst I've ever seen. And the local fire department did warn everyone that they needed to leave. We did rescue a couple from Michigan.
Wow.
They were
originally from
vacation.
Grand Rapids area.
Yeah, they were on vacation, and they were on the other side, so we brought them back.
How many days were you there?
We were there 9 days.
9 days.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 10, but we got released 1 day early.
Okay.
Mainly the reason was because we went as a swift water team only, so it was 19 guys. So once that swift water kind of response was done, then our agreement for what we were being called to do was over.
Right.
We expanded out because we have the structural collapse element to our team. We don't have the equipment, we have the skills, we have the knowledge, but we didn't have the equipment because that's that 45-man team. That we extended into that a little bit, but we kind of have to be careful without changing the agreement of what we're there to do, liability-wise, and those things. So we extended that out a little bit, and then they moved us to another town to do some wide area search, and we were walking in knee-deep mud, and we searched 600 different waypoints between a team of 19 of us, I guess.
Yep.
And just checking every structure, every mobile home, every part, and all the way from not there to no damage, and everything in between. So it was just, we did it all, and we're pretty happy, and with what we did. So, and they need help. There's no question.
I can only say that it's not just a sense of pride when I see that I can look at all these things that you've done, but a sense of thanks.
Yeah.
Because you and your families, what you do, not just here for us, but what you did, you not only save lives, you change the trajectory of the town.
Yeah.
So they can heal faster because you helped save the additional ones that were there. So I just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
You are true heroes. So I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're humble heroes
We're trying to be under the radar.
I can see it makes you both blush, and I know, but that is why I call you humble heroes. Yeah. There are some people just love the limelight. There's something different about firefighters too, though, where you don't love the accolades, and that is something interesting and special. But I think you deserve those accolades, and you need to hear them more often. And I'm saying thank you.
Yeah,
thank you from
Appreciate it.
our town as well as the ones that you've saved.
And I appreciate the support from you and the chief and the rest of the department that has to work for us when we're not here.
Right.
So
we are blessed.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for sharing today with Lieutenant Chopski and Lieutenant Patterson. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.